Welcome back, everyone. So this is, I know it's like Audio Equipment Month on BBISHOPPCMsworld.com. Do any of you even use that website or that web address to access my channel? Did you know it exists? BBISHOPPCM.com. So we have a JVC TD-W354 dual cassette deck that is in dire straits. This cassette deck served its entire life. This thing probably was made in somewhere around 97, 98. Its entire life was spent in a public school music room at the elementary level. That's grades kindergarten through grades 4. And honestly, it led a hard life playing tapes like Teddy Bear's Picnic and Raffi. Well, apparently it's taken its toll. This thing is in real need of help. Look at all the buildup on the cap stands. The pinch rollers, you can see where the oil has leached out of the pinch rollers, out of the rubber. The oil and plasticizers have completely leaked out and just made a complete mess out of these decks. The good thing is they're pretty well made decks. They are full logic, auto revert, both sides. Full logic, auto reversing. You know, in its day, this was probably a pretty bitchin' deck. I mean, just feel how these close. Nice, firm latching. Nice little rig. I don't see any provisions for a remote control, so I don't believe this was ever equipped with a remote. But we'll find out once they get the faceplate off if we look for an infrared sensor. But anywho's, this thing is totally salvageable. Both decks well, this one works. This one, the belt is clearly broken. It doesn't spin. So I ordered a service kit for this deck, which includes 4 brand new pinch roller rubbers, and we've got 2 brand new belts. So we're going to crack this guy. I have not had this thing apart yet, so I don't know what to expect. I probably should have maybe taken a look inside to see what it looks like. But, I mean, it powered on. It seemed to be functional to a degree, so I felt that, you know, I'm going to just go ahead and take the gamble and get a better screwdriver. Would be a nice touch. Hold on a sec. Anyway, so, you know, it would be just my luck that I'm going to get this thing rolling again, and it's just going to blow up on me from faulty capacitors. That would just make my day. So I kind of hope it happens. No, seriously. This is probably one of the best equipped decks I've had before. I've owned many component stereo style cassette decks, and this is probably the most advanced one I've had ever, actually, with all the features and the auto reversing and you know, all that stuff. I'm gonna hopefully see a production date on the other side. But yeah, I found on eBay. Now, I don't really like buying my belts and stuff off eBay, but it's just so much easier. I just search for the model number of the deck, and there it is. Complete kit, ready to install. So let's take a look inside here. Wow, there's nothing in it. It's an empty box. All right. Let's see if we can't see any indicator of a production date. You know, it surprises me how many companies don't make that obvious. They don't include that information on their equipment. It's really mind-boggling to me. But the nice thing is everything on this board is plugged in. I don't have to desolder anything. Sometimes there's a stamp inside the cover, and there is no such thing here. So I really don't know how old this deck is. I will try to show as much as I can here. I've never actually rebuilt one of these. I've done this procedure on a Sony deck. I'm sure this is quite similar. Probably the same OEM, actually. Anyway. So, I'm going to take a good look at the the inside panel here and see how it's constructed and what kinds of steps we need to take to proceed forward. Okay, looks pretty straightforward to me. I'm going to have to remove the front panel. I think I want to do that anyway. And it looks like the entire mechanism is assembled on the front panel. So we're going to unplug these ribbon cables very gently. They're very old. Things at least 20 years old or more. I'm going to unplug these little jumpers. It's kind of neat. I've never seen that before. So it looks like the manufacturer basically built the entire deck on the front panel. Does that make sense? It will in a minute when you see what I'm about to do. So we got to unplug each deck. Let me grab the camera and I'll show you what I'm doing. So we're not going to be taking parts out of it while it's in the chassis is what I mean. So we got to unplug all these ribbon cables. These are little short jumpers. And there's a ground lead here and a ground lead there. Everywhere a ground lead. Old MacDonald had some ground leads. I-E-I-O. Okay. But yeah, my two latest videos where I tried to power up the PS2 model 9595 and I think, oh yeah, the Yamaha stereo down there that I will someday rebuild. The Yamaha stereo actually worked for a little while. Sounded pretty good too, and then it just blew up. Bad caps. It's always caps with this shit, you know what I mean? Alright, so we're going to have to tilt it on its face. I want to put a towel under it. I don't want to... Actually, hold on. If I just go like this... Right, and I just remove the necessary screws, I think I'll be able to get the job done pretty quick. It's unfortunate that I had a really nice system I put together. I had a 1978 Onkyo stereo receiver, and I had a set of Cerwin Vega VS120 speakers. I had a pretty crappy but functional turntable, and I had a freshly rebuilt Sony cassette deck. I also had a Sony 5-disc CD changer. And you know what I did with it all? I got rid of it. I think I donated it all to Savers because I was living in a condo and it wasn't conducive to stereo ownership. It was kind of a bad place to be if you had that kind of stuff. So check this out. We're going to lift the chassis out of the way. I wasn't joking. It's built like a boombox. Since Oreo's not here with us right now, he's outside or out on the porch. We can use his chair. Oreo has his own chair, by the way. It's over to my right. All right. I'm gonna grab a towel. We're gonna put the faceplate down, and I don't want to scratch it all up because we're gonna actually try to clean that pretty good. Case to be made for never throwing towels away. Never throw a towel away because they make the best rags for cleaning. And for servicing stuff like electronics, if you need a nice soft place to lay something that you don't want to get scratched, that's what they're for. Okay, so this makes the job a little easier. Everything is built onto the faceplate. Alright, you know what? I get it. I totally get it. The display will have to be removed along with the rest of this stuff. So we're going to unplug this ribbon cable right here, and we're going to unscrew the I'm going to need a smaller screwdriver. Now I don't know how well this is going to work because it looks like there might be some this might be difficult, but let's just see how it goes. I think they have a couple of gotchas here. Like this whole thing isn't going to come out as easily as I hope it does. Or I want it to. But it has to come out. One way or another. Is it snapped in? I don't think so. I don't see any hidden screws. The display itself is mounted to a plastic board that may or may not be hot snotted in place. So that would be a challenge, wouldn't it? Don't smell any weird burning anything. Oh, it's plugged. Haha! Look at that. It's plugged into the decks through some connect. Okay, I see what they did there. All right, so there we are. Here's the display. Does it have an infrared sensor? Yes, it doesn't. See what I did there? There is no sensor. This is I thought this was at first. It's a power LED. That's all it is. There is no infrared sensor on this board at all. Nothing. When we had it powered up, I made sure to look at that fluorescent display. They tend to fade out over time. This one was bright as the sun, which is a really good sign. So even Teddy Bear's Picnic couldn't kill this son of a bitch. I just love the way this thing is built. It's very serviceable, incredibly serviceable. Obviously, this isn't the luxury model because it doesn't have a remote control, which is fine. I mean, I'm okay with not having a remote control, but I was kind of hoping it had that function because, I mean, I'm a guy. I love remote controls. Okay, I like to control things. That's what guys do. But anyway, all right. Let's hit the eject button on the. There we go. And the mechanism just falls. Look at how easy and serviceable this deck is. It's insane. Wait a minute. I could be wrong. There could still be a sensor hidden somewhere, but I'm not seeing where that would go. Usually there'd be a window or something to that effect. I'm actually shocked, to be honest, that there is no sensor on this guy. There's no place for it. No, that's just oddly bizarre. All right, let's center this in the frame here, best we can. There we go. Looks like we've got to remove. Is it one belt or two? I think it's only the one belt. You can see where that motor was designed to drive two belts, but I guess that's just what it is, right? Alright, so I'm going to take a couple of screws out of here. That's what we lost. Over the past 25 years, we've gained in convenience and sometimes even functionality, but what we've lost with modern electronics. And look at this board. This is any self-repair nut's dream. Everything is through-hole solder. Everything's got the part number on it. If I need to buy that chip, I could probably buy one. Probably can't program, but I could buy the chip. Everything is through-hole, easy to replace components. I mean, a cassette deck that doesn't require a quadruple zero-sized Phillips head screwdriver. I mean, this is a dream come true, folks. Appreciate this stuff while you can. That's all I'm saying. Alright, so we got our belt. Our belt is off. And these little flywheels. It's got two flywheels. Now just make sure you make note of the belt routing because, you know, that could be screwed. Oh, this belt is fine. Yeah, this belt is totally fine, but we've got new ones, so we're going to put those on. There's no residue or anything on the pulleys, so I'm not going to really worry about that either. So we'll just drop the belt in place. I'm going to caution you folks, and I know this going into it, but some of you might not be expecting this. The belts that the OEMs often use, especially, you know, decent brand names like JVC, they were maybe Nakamichi. The belts that they used back in the day were better than anything you can buy today. Nothing made today will last as long. These belts will probably melt or disintegrate in about 5 years or less. Just be aware of that. That is a possibility, so I just wanted to point that out. This is probably the most tricky part of it, and getting the belt around the pulleys and on the motor. I can think of a way to do it. That would be pretty simple. Make sure you don't flip the belt around. But what we're going to do is I'm going to get it routed where I want it to be, and I'm going to probably grab a paper clip. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, we have to get those cap stands dealt with here. Let's get that belt out of there. These cap stands are really rough shape. So I'm going to try to pull this guy out. There's so much buildup on these freaking cap stands. Alright. So we're going to take both pulleys out. And we're going to clean the cap stands with rubbing alcohol. Okay. Bad news. All I have is 50% ISO. This is not okay. But we're going to have to make it work. I mean, it still smells alcohol-y, but not very much. I'm just going to kind of clean those up, making sure not to bend them. I'm also going to clean the surface that the belt rides on, because there could be some oils and things on those. But the good news is that buildup is just that. It's buildup. It's not rust. It's just buildup. And I'm getting black stuff all over my fingers. We're going to get to that. That black stuff is remnants of the original rubber pinch rollers. So we gotta deal with that now. But we're gonna get these cap stands all cleaned, shiny. And I'm going to put a dab of grease. I have some polyolefin grease, wherever the hell that went. I had the little container right over. Oh, there it is. I'm going to drop a little dab will do ya. You don't want to go nuts with this shit, because that would be very, very bad. Alright. So yeah, this one, we might have to be, maybe taking it apart again. I just have that feeling, because it definitely, hold on. Let's put these back. There are these little plastic spacers. These are actually, they use the magic of plastics to provide lubrication to the flywheels. Right. Small one goes up front, party in the back. Alright, there we go. We're gonna have to clean that again once we get it assembled. Alrighty, so our belt, what about her? We want to clean our hands. Before you handle the belt too much, make sure you don't have any oils or any gunk on your hands, because once you contaminate the belt, it's pretty much all downhill from there. Alright. I'm only going to do one deck on camera. That's going to be this one, and you guys can laugh and make fun all you want. I don't care. I don't care. Alright. So let's try that. We're going to use that post to try to help us. I'm going to drop the motor in place. This is in the way. Okay. Got it almost to where it needs to be. Almost. There we go. Now it's on the right pulleys. This is snapped on. The belt is where it belongs. Now let's see. It wants to ride off. There we go. There we go. Okay, now the belt's on correctly. Yep. Because what's going to happen is as you move those pulleys, you spin them a few times, it's going to automatically get the belt to ride in its natural position. You just have to do it right, which clearly is something I have a hard time doing. Okay. That was fun. I'm going to gently grab the screwdriver and I'm going to kind of push this frame apart without breaking anything. Let's see if I say let it go twang. There we go. And we're going to lift this out. There's a little plastic detent there. See this little plastic clip, and the whole thing snaps out like that. Okay, this is a little easier. And now we can just get this thing in view here. Alright, I'm going to go like this. Actually, we use the side of the wheel as a opposing element there. There's one side out. Now we're going to do it again on the other side. And let's try that. There we go. Almost. Almost. No? Not quite? No? There we are. So, the rubber is hard as a rock. I have never seen, I mean, I don't work on a lot of cassette decks, clearly, but I've never seen this happen to a cassette deck. Some of you folks might have anecdotal stories, but I don't. I don't see this very often. So I'm going to gently remove the tire from the rim. Alright. Watch how bad this is. So I'm going to use 2 pairs of pliers. Just like that. There is no elasticity whatsoever to this rubber anymore. It is now officially plastic. Alright, we'll get some new tires. Go to the tire store. Here's a brand new one. And we're going to just kind of pop it in. I couldn't find pre-assembled pinch rollers. This is how I could get them. So now, while I've got that apart, I'm gonna grab me a couple of the little cotton swabs, and we're just gonna kind of clean up any residue that might be in here. Just like that. Kind of clean it up. I'm going to go ahead and put the tire back in place, just like that, and there you are. I don't think we need to lubricate the tire, the axle, if you will. But what I am going to do is, while I'm in here, I'm going to clean up and relubricate a few things. Anywhere there's currently grease residue, we're going to take a clean. We're going to take a clean swab and we're going to just kind of daub it up and clean up the area around it. It's nasty. And we're going to put some fresh grease in there. So a little bit of grease here. And a little bit of grease there. Make sure it runs nice and smooth. Put some there. Anything that slides should probably be greased. And I do believe that there should be some grease on this shaft here. I'll just take the swab and run it up and down that. We're going to snap it back in place. And we're going to grab that spring. We're going to put it back where we found it. Right? Why is it stuck? Oh. Hold on. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. All right. The nice thing about a dual cassette auto reverser is that if you make a mistake or you think you might be wrong on something, you can always reference the other deck or the other side. So in this case, not 100% sure how this locks in. So I want to make sure I do it right. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm going to do the other one. So we're going to relieve that spring again, just like we did with the other side. It has to be pulled off of there. And just like that. Okay, so it's one down, two more to go. Let's see if we can get a good look at that. Look at that nastiness. Oh man, this thing has never been cleaned, I promise you. I know the person who used this machine, and I can guarantee you it has never been cleaned. Not once. Not even once. But we're going to change that today. Now this, I want to show you, this is, again, most of this content is maybe for the younger crowd who doesn't have any experience with cassette decks because they're, you know, they're young. Oh my god. I don't know if I can save this. This is so nasty. Oh my god. The buildup is incredible on this thing. This alcohol's not strong enough. I need something stronger like acetone. But I don't think acetone is the right thing because I believe there's plastic in those heads, and that will dissolve it. So I need something stronger than 50% iso alcohol. I found a blip online about using metal polish. I figure, well, what the hell, let's give it a try. So I've got some Brasso here. The site specifically states not to use steel wool, which kind of is a no-brainer. So I've got a little bit of Brasso on this Q-tip, and we're going to gently rub it on there. See what happens. I think it's working. I actually think it's working. Yes. Can confirm. Brasso seems to be softening up whatever the hell it is on that head. Well, we'll know in a minute. But you gotta just kind of gently rub it in there. Well, yeah, that's working. I'm using gizmohighway.com. There's an article on gizmohighway.com. I'll try to post it in the video if I remember to do it. But this is literally working really well. So we are in good shape. Okay. Make sure to get the erase head too. It's got an erase head. Now, for those of you who don't know, And there are some viewers here. Look, that's what I'm for. That's why I make these videos, to kind of show some things that I've learned, and maybe we learn some stuff along the way. This isn't a channel where I know everything and here's how I do everything and now you have to do it my way. No. You got me all wrong. Some of you guys think that's what I'm all about. That's not what I do. If I come off that way, I apologize. Anyway, no, that's not what I'm all about. There are plenty of YouTubers out there who that's their thing, but not me. I think we've got this sucker as clean as we're ever going to get it, so. But I wanted to show you guys, those of you who don't know, something very interesting. You're going to find that is Cassette Master still on YouTube? I got to look him up. He knows everything. Cassette Master knows everything. He's a good guy. But I haven't followed his channel in decades. What I'm going to say may shock you. All right, that is not perfect, but I'll take it. Again, this unit has many millions of hours on it, but from where it was to where it is now, I'll take it. There are two different types of erase heads that you're going to find on cassette recorders. One of them is a permanent magnet that's mounted, usually, I mean, you're going to find these on single direction models, but it's literally a little ceramic magnet, or it could be a I think it's just a ceramic magnet. And what it does is when you press the record button, it swings down and contacts the tape somewhere in this vicinity. On better units, you have an electromagnet right here. In this case, now sometimes that electromagnet is in the same place that the permanent magnet would be. But because this is an auto-reversing deck, the electromagnet is part of the head assembly. Otherwise, they would have had to have put two electromagnets in place. And you'll notice that only half of it, see how only half of it is a magnet? The other half is just a hollow cylinder. So the shiny part is an electromagnet, and this side here is just there for the ride, because it's only going to erase one side of the tape at a time. Anyway, so that energizes whenever the record function is activated. So yeah, there you go. Now you know. The more you know. All right. Such a complicated machine, though. My lord. Look at all of these. Look at all of these switches. Metal, chrome. There's going to be one that's two of these sense record lockout. Oh man, so complicated. So I ended up cleaning it again, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Can you see it? Looks pretty good. You know, it's not new or anything, but I think it'll do the job. So before we dive in and service that deck, I want to check this one out. I should be able to run this thing with one functioning deck, so let's go ahead and turn it on. All right, so here's this deck. I'm going to just close it. See if I can cycle it at all. No? That works. I think I have to have a tape in it. How about a little bit of the hair of the dog that bit ya? All right. Here we go. Press play. And look at that. We got action. At the end of the tape. Yep, it's reversing. Auto reverse works a little too well. Why is it doing that? Fast forward. Really? Okay, rewind maybe? It won't run for more than a few seconds. Now, why is that? Okay. Generally, that occurs when there's excessive restriction. But it's not slowed. Alright, this head was just about as bad as the other one, and it came out looking pretty good. Brasso, actually, on a now I'm not using Q-tips. These are medical swabs. These work really well. They actually make specialized ones for this purpose. But just look at how nasty those were. They all just broke off like pizza crust. So I suspect that there is a speed sensor that isn't being activated, and I don't know why. We'll be investigating that in a minute. But we're going to get this one rebuilt first, then we're going to put it back in, and then we're going to see what happens. That's how we do it. That's how I do it. I could be wrong. I probably am. But this is the difference between the two decks is this is not a dubbing deck. There is no erase head anywhere on this assembly. This is strictly for playback. It's pretty typical. But look at the buildup on these cap stands. We're going to do the same surgery. We're going to pull the back cover off. We're going to put on a new belt. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, so we've got both decks rebuilt. I'm going to find there's my tape. I'm going to use this one. Rewind. Okay, there's the end of the tape. Did it stop? Yes, it did. Play. Okay, we got action. This is a bad tape. It's got a bunch of crap on it. So the tape is working fine so far. Everything's good. Now this side, before, it would do nothing. It would not engage at all. So this looks good. This looks pretty good. Now let's check the other side. I figured out that I can pull the decks out without pulling the whole faceplate off. It makes it easier when you're trying to troubleshoot and you've got to get in there a couple of times to just kind of check some stuff, you know. This one plays. Seems to be okay. It's holding. So maybe we figured it out. You can't have a deck out or something like that. Let's fast forward. Now I'm going to hook up some headphones. Before I waste my time and hook it up to the stereo, I'm going to hook up some headphones to it. Yeah, this is good. Rewind. It was only running for like maybe 2 seconds at a time before. Now it's going. And it auto stopped. So I don't even have to hit stop. Okay. So I've been kind of playing with this deck for the past couple minutes. And so far everything's good. I've checked both decks for like a difference between the two in speed or sound quality. And they're both about equal. If I were to put, a calibration cassette in there, I might find some discrepancies. But this thing is 25 or so years old. Maybe not quite that old. Probably 97, 98, 99. Anyway, no volume adjustment on the phono output. I find that kind of strange. But otherwise, everything works perfectly fine. It works really well. It plays smoothly. I also figured out that it has a music scan feature, or an automatic song, or automatic music, or automatic program selector. What it is, if it's in the play mode and you press fast forward or rewind, what it's going to do is it's searching for the next. See, it just did it. It found a break in the audio, so it just automatically resumes playing when it hits the next track. So it will automatically skip the entire song. For some of you folks, this might seem like, why does that matter? Well, it was a feature that was added. I don't know the specifics of when this was started, when this feature started going into cassette decks, but when full Logic decks started becoming a thing, they started packing them with features to make them comparable to CD players in some ways, or 8-track players. They would add. Well, that was just one feature that you could get on a more expensive cassette deck, because prior to automatic music selection, or whatever the brand name is, it was a different name for every brand, but in this case it was Music Scan. Before that, you would have to listen to the song fast. You'd have to kind of guess as to how long you had to fast forward the tape, and then hit stop, realize you overshot it by 30 seconds, and backtrack the tape. And it was kind of tedious, especially when you're driving in a car. My 94 Miata's OEM cassette deck has this feature, and so did my 97 my 97 Mazda 626. It also had this feature, but most of the cassette players I've had in my life did not. So it's a kind of a cool feature when you have it and it works. But it works here, and I imagine it works over there too. Again, no remote sensor. This is probably their baseline kind of lower end full Logic deck, because back in the late 90s, cassette decks were still very much a thing, and in fact they were included in certain cars well into the early 2000s. So and cassettes, obviously, they're starting to make a comeback, which is really strange to me, because of all the formats to bring back, they bring back the worst one. Cassettes do suck. They really do. In my humble opinion. Anyway, I'm going to put this guy back together. I'm going to give it a really good cleaning, and then we'll put it on the stereo system that I've been slowly putting together. And, hey, we have a cassette deck! Yeah! Spared no expense. We have a T-Rex. Alright guys, so I've got it all set up, all put together. Everything is running as well as you would ever expect. I have nothing bad to say about this project. Everything went pretty smoothly. The belts fit perfectly. The pinch roller tires fit perfectly. Everything's pretty much good to go. One thing that kind of surprised me, I was not expecting this. So if you've been following this series, I bought this STR-DH190 Sony receiver. And as you probably well know, it is a Bluetooth compatible device. I can play music from my phone directly to it. Now, while that doesn't give you the best sound quality by a long shot, true audio enthusiasts, I think, snarl at Bluetooth. But as a consumer, I don't mind it. It sounds good enough for me, and I'm happy with it. So I was able to record onto cassette from the Bluetooth receiver. I did not expect that to work. I honestly believe that Sony had a lockout in place, so you couldn't do that, because the world is a shithole right now, and that's just how things are. I fully expected, I didn't even think, didn't cross my mind. But what happened was, I had the cassette deck turned on, and I had the Bluetooth input select turned on, or selected, and I was playing music from my phone, and I saw the VU meter on the cassette deck start moving. And I'm thinking, no freaking way. There's no way that Sony allows that to work, because 2021, right? No. I popped a cassette in, started recording. And the thing is, and this shocked me too, the record quality was fantastic. I actually, with Dolby noise reduction turned on, I almost had to double check to make sure I wasn't listening to the MP3, because if you listen carefully, there was a slight tape hiss, but the speed was dead on, the audio quality was crisp, everything was just, again, I'm not an audiophile, so I'm not nitpicking here, and I'm not a nitpicker when it comes to this stuff. I'm just not. And I have a friend who's an audio engineer who isn't as nitpicky as some audiophiles are, like legit works in the industry, audio engineer. But you know, it sounds pretty damn good. Very good, in fact. I didn't play the Teddy Bear's Picnic cassette. That was the tape that came with it, by the way, so to give you any indication of what it was used for. But we brought it back to life. This thing was headed to the dump. That's where it was going. And at the last minute, I found it on a trash cart at work, and I'm like, there's no way I'm throwing that out. I'm going to grab it. And I grabbed the that turntable that turned out to be a piece of crap. But, you know, hey, a free cassette deck cost me $11 for the rebuild kit. And you can buy it right on eBay. And if you find one of these at Savers or whatever thrift store you guys have in your area, and you want to save a cassette deck from the trash bin, you can save them. You can save them. As long as the electronics are all good and there's nothing broken, they're easy to save. And if you're handy with electronics, you can certainly rebuild them. You saw how easy it was to take it apart and how simple that board layout is. Wouldn't take much to get them going if you find one that's got some passives that have failed, a diode, a resistor, or a capacitor, whatever the case may be. That's going to conclude our video. Thank you for watching, and crank it up. That's cheesy. 211. No. Let me try that again. And crank it up. 211. But yeah, speaking of cranking it up to 11, I'm going to show you the one complaint I have with this Sony receiver. This is a big one. Like, it's going to drive some of you freaking nuts. But the volume control. The scale is from 0 to 74. Why? 0 to 74. All right. But not only that, but the knob is really stiff, and you have to just kind of crank it like you're winding up the window in an old Chevy Cavalier. It's not a good feeling controller. It's stiff. You know, I hate it. I mean, Sony somehow managed to screw up rotary dials, if you can imagine. How do you screw up a rotary dial? You set the scale from 0 to 74, and you make the knob stiff as hell to turn. So, assuming you have the remote for the unit, say you're watching this 10 years from now, and you pick one of these up at the thrift store for $5, probably mine, and you don't have the remote is actually much user-friendlier-ish, but not really. Like, look at that. What if I wanted to just crank it, you know? Ugh! You know, I've got just an adrenaline attack or something, and I want to just crank the damn thing. No, you have to sit there and you know, it's like, no. How do you screw that very simple, very basic thing up? That's the only complaint I have with this receiver. Otherwise, for, what was it, $180? It was cheaper than the freaking turntable. For $180, I mean, come on. It's pretty compelling as a worthy purchase. And that's going to conclude our video. Y'all have a great night. Or day, or afternoon, I don't know. Until then, have a good one.